YouTube, and welcome to a update on my USS Excelsior build in Starmade, as well as an update on the YouTube channel in general. Currently in the hangar after the shuttle had docked, and this bottom hangar in the front section of the secondary hull, it's pretty much complete. There's a little work on the top section, but I'll be getting to that eventually. Now, it's been quite a while since I made any updates about the Excelsior build after the showcase clip, and there's good reason for that. The game has changed significantly. There's been a lot of updates made both to weaponry as well as the Power 2.0 system that in some ways made this build more difficult. And I had to basically rethink a lot of, well, how do I do this? Where do I place this? The power system became increasingly complex. And I had to rethink a lot on how I was going to do things. I'm walking around meanwhile showing off some sections that are completed. Here's a typical quarter. And continuing on about that, the game is in an interesting position right now, where basically both from a developer point of view and from a user point of view, everyone's kind of like waiting a little to see how the game develops, what it catches on, and so on. And yeah, the game, as we all know, is still very, very alpha, even though it's pretty stable, working pretty okay for now. As from the future of this build, there are a few things while experimenting with the new power system I have discovered. And the new power system, it fixes a lot of the qualms with the previous one. I actually think it was a generally very good update. The power system definitely needed this revamp. And of course, it's not perfect. As of this point, what is perfect? Game, as I said, very, very alpha still. And here's a lot of unfinished sections. Yeah, I'm getting to that as well. Now we're in the front of the secondary hull. And one of the issues with the power system I discovered while trying to refit that into the Excelsior is basically you're facing a difficult decision with Star Trek builds in this game now. Because the way it's been laid out with the blocks and how you are to utilize them, it means that the saucer hull nacelle design of Star Trek is very, very limiting in this game. It makes it pretty difficult to actually, well, get a very powerful build made of this. And yeah, here's a beam for the power blocks. Because you have to place the block in various sections and so on, both the power blocks, generator blocks, and so on. Okay, I'm probably mispronouncing some of the blocks' name, but those familiar with the game understand what I mean. And one of the reasons it makes it difficult is because a Star Trek build is limiting in space, unlike typical Starmade builds. It gets difficult to squeeze in enough power blocks in one area and also have room to build both interior as well as chambers and such. Excelsior has actually been a little bit lenient to the new system compared to what a Constitution class would be. And alright, I better show off main engineering while I'm at it. Entering here. And I actually made use of where position reactor blocks. The beam makes a pretty darn nice warp core. Some players may actually realize that yes, I'm guiding the power beam through the entire ship, through the next section and down to the rear of the secondary hull. Yeah, that is pretty much how I had to do things, because the distance between the generator blocks and the power blocks also made it a very tricky issue. That one can be worked around, But if there's one thing I really would like in a future power update, is a beam guidance block that splits the beam using the C and V key functions. That would make it a lot more versatile. And it would help me a lot because I was planning to do some splits that basically needed to part at another point of the beam rather than from the reactor itself. We'll see what comes with future updates. I'm hopeful for that, but we'll see. There are more important things for Shine to prioritize, I assume, so I'll leave it at that. Now, power issue was manageable on this ship. Where I placed the reactor, I could lead to buffer blocks in the back, as well as in the front of the saucer. We're going to move up there right now. And buffer blocks, I know that's not the name for them. It's been a while since I've been working in Starmade, so some names are slipping right now. I apologize for that. Now we're moving up through the neck. The next section of the Excelsior design was actually pretty lenient to place various structures in and systems rather than actually using it for space, because let's face it, the Excelsior neck is just basically baffles. And there's not much windows, so I decided to make utilitarian use of it rather than anything else. And here is currently the main reactor. It's pretty small. I've actually been tearing out old engine sections and hull here. So I'm going to expand the reactor quite substantially. It's basically necessary. As soon as I put shields in this ship right now, the power tanks pretty much immediately when it tries to charge jump drive. And that is actually the bigger issue I've had with this build. Shields being very, very tricky to fit into this ship. And I also encountered a bug. As you see here, I made 2 additional buffer sections in the front here, but I've been sparing most of this central interior space, as well as removing old structures to fit in a large group of shield blocks in here. And yeah, those screen blocks are just indicating values. I have a big section I'm going to place here and there once I've, well, torn a few things apart here. A little bit troublesome to do that because it was part of the original structure when I made a skeleton of this ship from the start, so a lot of it had basically reason to be there, but now I have to rethink the entire design. Made it a bit tricky. The shields have been the biggest issues so far. And, well, for interior-wise, as you see, I still have plenty of space to do other things on, so I'm not that concerned about losing the main space in the center here. Shields, it hasn't been a problem covering the saucer in a fully functional rechargeable shield group. That's been very easy to do, as well as the secondary hull completely covered. The issue I've mainly been having is, I think we should go into build mode from the bridge before to show that off, before I talk about it. So using these stairwells that are pretty much complete, moving up towards the bridge. But it's been time consuming, but also very fun to build on this ship, and yeah, as you can imagine, this section will be going because of the beam here. Oh, they're solid now. Changes. Yeah, I haven't been building as often as I have been wanting to, both because of time as well as my work has been effectively trying to kill me for the past few months. So there's that. There we go, now we're gonna reach the stairwell. It takes me up to the bridge. You know, a little quick detour just to show the captain's quarter. It's pretty much the only quarter here I finished. Everything else is empty right now. Bedroom. A head in the back there, a little decorative. Yeah, someone's gonna say I'm wasting space on decorative things right now, but, well, things can be removed in groups and so on, so I'm not that concerned about it. One thing I did notice with the update though, I pretty much had every door automated in ships with trigger blocks here. that started malfunctioning immediately after the update, so they wouldn't trigger properly, and it wouldn't activate probably when you exited the door as well and close. I don't know really what went on with that. I hope it's fixed. I'm going to test that eventually as well. So for now though, it's manual opening. And we have the bridge. Showing off the conference room. I actually placed the conference room in front of the bridge on the Excelsior. Now these windows are of course non-canon, but I'm taking a few creative liberties with the ship for the sake of Starmade and practical applications ship. Yep, I really need to automate these doors again. And Captain's ready room. Meanwhile, how do I access the core on this ship? I actually hid that in the captain's chair because the core is placed completely center of the saucer. That had a practical application to it. Yeah, to-do list. Okay, in build mode. Now, the issue I've been having with the shields is basically moving out. I've had no problem covering the saucer at all. That's been easy to do. Secondary hull also hasn't really been a problem to cover up fully as well without the shield blocks interfering with each other. Now the main problem with shielding has been full coverage of the nacelles. At this point, to cover the entire nacelle section, I have to put in so much shield blocks in the secondary hull that it actually reaches to interfere with the front shield section, but also it's not covering well enough, even so. Yes, the nacelles of an Excelsior class are pretty long, and the way the shields cover in a spherical shapes makes it difficult because you need it exact center, and also I don't want to put the shield blocks in a too vulnerable spot for a missile to take it out. I did try a thing that completely, because of a bug, did not work. I'm probably going to make a clip to try and demonstrate this bug. I did place separate shield groups and charger groups inside the nacelles, the rear of the nacelles, to cover it fully. There was a bug with that I couldn't figure out, because if I took that little ship out there, it's basically just a flying gun. Fired a shot in the saucer, shields took it, nothing happened. Secondary hull shields took it, nothing happened. But as soon as that shot, weak as hell, hit the bubble around the rear of the nacelles, every group of shield, capacitor, and rechargers aboard the ship started instantaneously exploding from basically a needle prick. And for the longest time I couldn't figure out what that is, and I still haven't solved that bug. I did contact Shine on a support errand on that basically ran out in the water because of lack of time, and I was away from the computer for that week as well, sadly. But I might do it again with a video that actually properly more explains it once I can demonstrate it and replicate the function. I intend to do so within the coming weeks. I have some vacation time coming up, fortunately. But yeah, for now, she's sitting pretty, power system functional, and in the shipyard. So with that, thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll see more progress. Random-Goldfish signing out.